And they always ask, what do you mean? I go, well, I need 7 days worth of data logging. Okay. And I need 7 days worth of data logging. And then depending on where I'm at with my travels, by the time I ship you loggers, you put them on for 7 days, you pull them off after 7 days, and then you ship them back to me. Depending on where I'm at, I might not be home. I might not be able to get to it till the following week or the week after. And then I have to evaluate it and put something together and then, report. And they're like, oh, okay. So if you're doing a data log and they need something quick, then it's not really your answer. But if they have a week or two or a couple weeks, then data logging is definitely it. So what I'll do is I'll take a data logger. I'll take one of the ones with one of the iTrack 2s. I throw it in a box. I include a paper copy of my critical data sheet here, which I just updated this like a month ago with this information. And this is what I need to have back for each individual logger. So on there, I put on my screen, right? I put on here, this is logger 7 because all of the data loggers that I have, I went through and labeled. So like this one says L7 on the front and then logger 7 on the back. I just used my label maker and put them on there because I need to know which logger is which, because this particular data logger, right? This one is a information on a CPC 50G that he put right here. Okay, so if I was doing a machine that has 2 or 3, or a data log that has 2 or 3 compressors, I just need to know which logger is which. So I need to know which one's which. So that's why I have them labeled. Okay. The more information I have on this, the better. Their distributors are horrible about filling it out. I mean, the more I have, the more accurate the report's going to be. So customer name and information, they're all hesitant typically to fill this out. It's what goes on the report. If they want me to do a report for their customer, I need to know who their customer is. That's why I have that on there. Cost per KW, that helps us designate, the actual return on investment and everything, and the voltage savings. Compressor type, compressor settings, right? Load, unload, how much they have for storage, the voltage, the amperage. This is all a verification check. That's why we have this here. And then the next thing I have on here is what, solution is the customer hoping to get from this data log? Are they looking for a new compressor? Are they looking for expansion growth, VSD, direct replacement? Like what? Because I can make a data log, or we can make a data log look and go whatever direction we want it to go. So we need to have an understanding of actually what it is they're going for. This one will be pretty easy because they're just looking for a straight new compressor and they want a VSD. I put a time date on here. It does not have to be accurate, but it's got to be close. The reason being is because you can hold up to like 3 data logs on one logger. So if you got these coming in and out and you're doing multiple logs, you just need to know when you started that one. So when you are within AirChitect, you can pick the right start date. And then the next page on this that I recently added was just a block diagram, right? Just tell me in general what they have. So literally, it doesn't have to be fancy. They just drew this out, right? Box with a compressor to a manifold out to 2 tanks. That just gives me an idea of what I'm working with. Okay. So what I do from there is I come into AirChitect, okay, and we're just going to start a new project presentation. So we click on this first one, name. I'm going to put warehouse services, Portland compressor, evaluate compressor room, company name, services. I'm assuming this is Oregon. They didn't give me a contact person. They didn't give me any of that information. So I'm just going to click next. This is where we change it. Right now it's at 12 cents. So we're going to change that to 0.065 because that's what they're saying, what they pay, which is ridiculous. ridiculously cheap. We're going to say this.
Yeah. Do you ever have people just straight out say they don't know? Do you ever?
Oh yeah, most people that don't know, I just use 12 cents, between 8 and 12 as the average. And I do it for 48 weeks a year. I don't do. There's 52 weeks in a year. I just choose 48 to choose 48. It's also the default in the system, and it works pretty good. And then you click finish. Now within your data log kit, you're going to get a cable, the USB to, I don't even know what it's called, but it looks like an old printer cable. It's what goes into the data loggers. So you plug that into your computer, and now this pops up. This is the start. So what we're doing now is we actually have to build a compressor room. Okay, so this is the current situation. So this is how we upload the data. Everything within AirChitect is basically icon based. So you just follow the icon and work your way across. So we're going to click on the compressor room, and we'll go predefined, and it's one compressor. And without pressure measurement, you're always going to select that because we don't need pressure. Distributors are going to argue with you and say different, but we do not need it because of the way AirChitect works. We have the ability to do pressure with these little things called P loggers. This is one here. It's very simple. It's just a pressure transducer that we just plug into their system at some point in time, right? We throw a battery in this P logger, and it eventually lines up here and plugs in and goes. Like so. And then we could be data logging pressure. Don't do it. It's a waste of your time. And it's a complete waste of your time. It doesn't really benefit the report at all. So without pressure measurement. And now what we're going to do is it's going to ask us how much storage they have or vessel configuration. So according to this, it's 520 gallons. So now what it does is this is the start of our compressor room. So the idea behind AirChitect is to see what they have and then run simulations against that information to see what compressor configuration makes the most sense. Hey, Justin, I have a new compressor. We're bringing on a new line. We're going to grow by 20%, but I'm not quite sure how much compressor I need. Find out what they have, evaluate it, bump it by 20%, run a simulation. We can run as countless simulations as we want. It doesn't matter, but we got to have a baseline. That's what we're doing here. It's creating that baseline off of that information. So I'm going to right click on this data logger and I'm going to name it because that's just what I do. This is logger 7. So I'm just going to name it logger 7. That way I just know what it is. You don't have to. It's just something that I do. And then we're going to define the compressor. And that's this one right here that it's ultimately defining. We'll click next. We're going to create a custom based on the data that can be found on the compressor's data plate, which is yes, which hopefully they gave you that information on this critical data sheet, but most of the time they don't. So we got to kind of wing it. So this is going to be, name of the compressor is just compressor, right? We can say compressor 1. Manufacturer is Chicago Pneumatic. It's red. Actually, we're going to make it gray. It's a fixed speed. He said it's a 50 horsepower, max 125, and it's 460 volt. And I got that information off of the critical data sheet. Okay, next thing is this particular unit is it's going to come up with standard information, this is where the more information they give you, the more accurate the data log is going to be. So within, you know, basically KGI and some fancy algorithms and equations that they have built into here, they're saying that a 60 horsepower. Hold on, wait a minute. No, I put in 50 horsepower. Okay, all right. So package horsepower is 50. I don't know why it said 60. And the CFM on this is 230. And unload power, I don't know what it is. I'm just going to leave it at 15 because that's fine. I could actually go in and find out, but I'm not going to worry about it. They have this sucker way maxed out at 132, which I don't know if it'll take it, and 116. We'll see what that does, and then finish. So now we're telling the program this compressor is at 50 horsepower. Now we're going to upload that data. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my logger here and I'm going to take my cord and I'm going to plug it in. And then my computer should find it. This is an iTrack 2. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to find it on my computer. And we're going to hope to God that it downloads. And this one is going to work because it's saying read log. So when you see read log and that bar going across, it's actually pulling data from this logger. Now, you ship it, when I ship the loggers to distributors, I do not put batteries in them. They can put their own battery in it. And then when they ship them back, I just tell them to leave the battery in it. It doesn't matter. They leave the battery in it. This one should still have the battery in it. Let me check. Yep, it still has the battery in it. And it should work. So here now that you see the bars next to the iTrack logger here, it's filling up. So that just means it's actually working, which is good.
So what if they pull the battery out? Does it still have all the data and everything? Doesn't lose any of that, right?
It shouldn't, no. I've had it do funky things and had to put a battery in it. And as long as I can go back and pick the date that they started, it tends to work just fine. But like this one here, if we look, this is a verification. Okay, so this one, we got the voltage. It's got data on here from 6/9 to 7/13. And we logged from 8/3. Yeah, so there's not. This is the bad log. No, there's no data on it. Not that matches what he's saying anyways. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to make a note on here. We're going to continue forward, but this is why you have them 6/9 to 7/13. So my guess is they had this. It probably had a battery in it, and they just installed it without putting a battery in it and pulled it off later. And they never put a new battery in it. So we're just going to say this is correct when in reality it's not, because they told me that they started it on 8/3 and 8/17, and there's nothing on these dates within this table that are remotely close. So I'm just going to click OK for now. Just so we can continue on. We'll say that's right, but it's really not. So I'm going to have to ship him another logger, and then he's going to have to put a battery in it. All right, so at this point, when you have the little blue globe, that's good. That's what we want. So this is the current situation. You go back to the project view, and we have the imported compressor room. Now we have the profile is disabled, which I have no idea why. We're going to save this here. Oh, here it goes. Now we're running down here in the bottom simulation. So it's actually just, now that I picked this compressor and uploaded data, it's just going to merge it together is basically what's happening here. But now we just have to wait. Being that I have the data uploaded, I'm just going to eject this data logger because I don't need it anymore. Yeah, this battery totally went to crap. Yeah, how old batteries can like explode? That's what happened in this logger. So I'm just cleaning it out in here a little bit. And then I'm going to ship it back out to them. It's
You've
ultimately.
done it before with them, right?
Say again?
You've done it before with Portland a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
So could they, some distributors have access to this, right? Like they could do their own if you, or no?
Oh, hell yes. Dear God, yes. That's the plan. Sierra Machinery, I've taught them how to do it. They bought their own kit, which is the intention. The whole idea behind this is for them to do it, for them to have an auditor, for them to have somebody to do it on their own accord. That's the game plan. More often than not, they just don't have that person or the ability, and they're freaking lazy. Okay, so if we go back to the project view, now the simulation, and this is where the icons go across, and it's a process. So this is okay. Now this one's blue, so we click on it. And this is where we have that start date, right? So on here, if you see, that's more than 7 days worth of data. Well, if they would have had a good battery, I would have came through and picked 8.3, but obviously I can't, right? So I'm just going to pick one because it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to click OK. And now what it's going to do is it's going to use that data, which on here is absolutely nothing. There's nothing there. So let's pick a different day. Let's go back. There was like nothing on there. There's nothing there. How I can tell that there's nothing there is this is just a simple bar graph. Okay, if there was actually data here, it would be all over. There'd be a graph going across this. This is a workday, workday, workday. These pink columns here are the weekend, right? So this is, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday. So this is 7 days. There's just no data on this thing. So let me go to 6/16, see if there's something there. There's not going to be. You can tell by the dates. Yeah, there's no data here. Okay, so this is what we're going to do.
Remember, Justin, you don't have to waste your time. Darren and I are always in. Next time you get one, just holler and we'll walk through it all together. This at least gives us an idea, at least preps us for it. So, like,
That's all
don't
right.
waste your time with this.
Oh, you're good. I'm just going to go to a different one and show you guys. So, because the beginning is still all the same. These are all data logs that I've done over here. Here we go. All right. So this one. So this was the situation, right? This was the compressor room. So this is where we went through and picked that date, right? Okay. Once we pick the date and it picks those 7 days, right? We just have to look at the data. So here's the current situation. See, this is the flow all the way across here. So this is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they're running it all the time. Okay. This magnifying glass here allows us to zoom in a little bit more on the data. So the situation here was they had 2 hydrovanes, okay, with 160 gallons. And down here on flow pressure status, I'm going to click on this other magnifying glass to zoom in to have an idea of what's going on. Okay, so if there would have been actual data on this logger from Portland Compressor, this is where we would be. Okay, so this is this 7 days. So what I'll do is I typically export to PDF this day, so we can look at it and have a conversation with the distributor and the end customer. And then what I'll do is I'll
Why
grab
that?
this.
Hey, why that day? So that's just the starting day? Is that what that is?
This is the week. This is all 7 days here. So I'll
So you're going to
export
export
them.
all of them.
Yeah. So, and what it looks like when I do that, because this is Maru. Let me see here. Hold on. Maru. Who is Maru with?
But it shows that like number 2 is just running unloaded all the time. Don't you ever have to adjust some of the KW so that it's actually capturing and showing loaded? And I mean, do you ever get it where it just shows that it's like running unloaded all the time or something because it didn't get the KW right or something?
Hold that thought. Let's see here. Maybe. Maru sent. Hold on, I'm finding the. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Air Technology West. Okay. So what I do here, I had to remember where I saved these files. Bear with me. So what I do is Air Technology West. Here's Maru. So this is week flow data. Okay. I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. And then on the left over here, this is CFM. And then down here's the date stamp. So what I'll do is you click and drag this over to zoom in on a day. And when you zoom in, you actually see what's going on. Now, I pick the heaviest day, right? That way we can actually have a conversation of what's going on. And what I mean by that is, like, if you look here, you have peaks and valleys, right? So on Saturday here, it's at that high flow for the longest. So when I zoom in and I do a day, I will export this and say day flow. Because there's sometimes going through all the work of doing a report is useless and they don't really know what's going on. And you can just have a conversation with these simple graphs or ask some questions. Come on, catch up to me. So like, here's that week flow data, right? I can go to them and be like, look, Mr. Customer, from 6 a.m. to 13, this is your average flow. I mean, really, you're using 24 CFM, most of the time, but you have peaks of 36 for a couple hours. And on this day here, this is what that day looks like, starting at 12 o'clock in the morning until, basically 12 o'clock at night. You have a very constant 21 CFM load or leak load. That could be the leaks in their building, or they're running a CNC machine at night, something. And then whatever you start at roughly, basically 8 a.m. in the morning, your flow goes up. And then for a couple hours, 4 or 5 hours, you have a constant 36 CFM demand. Does this sound right? And they'll say, yay, no, yes, no, they don't know, whatever the case may be. Right? That's where you can actually show them the data of what's going on. Okay. So when you look at that magnifying glass, it's just a snapshot of what's going on. Okay. So now we look at all of that information, and then we actually come up with some simulations. Okay. So let me go with this Travis here. Back to Maru. So on Maru here, we're going to say those two machines we want to replace with the QRS 15. So on this button, you add a new proposal, which it gives you a new factory. I click and drag a compressor over. Okay. And then I added it into their system. So this is the QRS 15 base mount. Here it is here. I added it to their existing situation. And now I'm going to run it. And I'm going to see what this 15 horsepower will do for them. And what it's going to do, what AirChitect does, is it takes that data got from the original equipment, and it says, how would this QRS 15 run in that same situation? And then I ran a variable speed as well, which is the whole idea behind AirChitect, is to sell variable speeds. So I ran a simulation for both, and this is what we ended up coming up. This one's actually running right now, so it's only 30% done.
But you're adding this to the system, right? You're not saying to remove any of their existing equipment?
That is correct. I do it that way to help show the customer that it can handle it without those machines potentially turning on. So all I do is I adjust the pressure settings on the compressor to make it lead, lag. And the compressor, the CP, is the lead machine, and then I lower the pressure settings on number 2 and number 3 to where they don't actually run.
So on that last simulation, though, it was still showing one of those compressors just running unloaded all the time.
Sometimes, yeah, unloaded and or stopped, yeah, depending on how much you dig into it, which we can go back and look at, yeah. So here, this is a negative 25%. So this QRS 15D is going to cost them 25% more energy. That's not really what we want. So let's run the variable speed and see what it says. While that's running, we can still look at this. So like right here, Darren, that you were talking about.
Yeah, like that's a lot of unloaded time. I mean, that's green there, but I mean, like if you go back to where you just were.
It's not as much unloaded as you think.
Yeah, when you zoom in really, really close, you can see the breakdown a lot better. Yeah, you can actually see a lot more green in there, but.
Yeah, because this is from like 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So I mean, if you look, that's basically a 3-hour time span, right? That's all three. That's great.
Yeah, that looks good there, but it was just from further away. Just you see a lot more orange. You just don't see. Yeah, like right there, it looks like you don't see any green there. It looks like it's just all orange.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So that's where you're just looking at the highest demand and the lowest demand, right? So if we look at the lowest demand, right? So let me zoom. We'll go here. Yeah, look, you have a machine that's completely unloaded for hours at a time.
Yeah, see, that would be more an issue with settings or something like that in the machine itself, right? Because that's not normal. It shouldn't be just kicking on and immediately going to an unloaded state. I mean, it should always start loaded at the beginning of every one of those breaks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that could be fixed potentially with a pressure adjustment, right? The pressure band might be too tight. That's why it's always
I mean,
saying
it could be in the machine itself, but couldn't it also be in just the data that was, you know, imported or selected at the beginning? If you have maybe the loaded KW just a little bit too high or something, then it won't quite reach that. It'll keep thinking that it's unloaded every time it's really loaded.
yes and no, but I mean, we're not really using real KW. We're using the amperage, and we're using the algorithm to generate a report. It takes an amp reading every second, and with the load and unload settings, we generate what the KW usage is, and then we estimate what that power is. The issue that we have with these is that ultimately uh, it's a guesstimate, right? And uh, it's just the machine. It's not the entire system. So that's why the QRS 15 HPD is negative 25%, and this variable speed is 14% savings, which is better. But if I went through and really adjusted and modified the settings on this 25 or this 15, I could get that down to zero, if not 12% positive, because I can actually go in and adjust and modify the controller settings itself. Right now, it's set at a default unload minimum of 3 minutes. Well, I can just cut that down to 20 seconds and shut that machine off, you know? So there's some setting values that you can do in general, but that depends on how detailed you want to get into it. If you're just looking at this for face value, this is exactly what it's going to tell you. So what happens is you have these two scenarios, right? We have a QRS and a 15. Well, let's look at it a little closer. So you click on the magnifying glass here. You go back to the same view, okay? And now let's look at that same spot. So let's look at the heavy demand. We can zoom in here, okay? And this is why you don't need a pressure profile, because you can actually see what's going on. On the left over here is CFM, on the right over here is PSI. So this blue line is the compressor actually loading and unloading, okay? So you can see that the QRS 15 handles everything beautifully. It's got a beautiful load unload profile. It's not bad at all. I mean, at the end of the day, it loads at 352 and unloads at 357, and then it unloads. I mean, it's a beautiful load profile. It's just a 15 horsepower instead of two. I think these were. I'd have to look. I don't remember what horsepower they are.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you just remove those old machines from the system altogether on the simulation, but I guess if it shows them stopped the whole time, then it really doesn't matter.
No, exactly. That's why I don't do it, because you can. If I look at this right here, 20 CFM. Yeah, see, these are 5 horsepower units. So it's costing more money because these combined are 10 horsepower. We're running at 15. Of course, it's going to cost them more money.
Yeah.
So now what we do is, so that's what it looks like. And then when we go to the low demand and we zoom in, you can see the sucker just loading and unloading a lot. So the 15 horsepower is going to help them, no problem. It'll handle it. It's not a bad choice, And the reason that I say that is this gives them room for growth. We went from 40 CFM to 50 CFM. Okay, so I mean he's got roughly 20% growth there. That's not bad at all. But if we look at the variable speed and we go to the same graph, okay, now we can do the same thing. Let's look at this heavy demand. And I can export this too if we want to PDF and have a conversation with the guy. It just depends on your customer. And we can zoom in and you'll see the variable speed. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. No. Sorry, it didn't open up the right one. Graph view, close. CPVSD, here we go. Here's the variable speed. Yeah, it just runs loaded. It's great. But where it saves its money is when it's down here on these lower flows, we maintain a beautiful 135 PSI, no problem, 145 PSI, but it's only charging him the power of a 5 horsepower this one. That's where the VSD makes its advantages, right? That's the whole benefit of it, is that off time. Instead of the fixed speed, it's 15 horsepower bill the entire time versus this one. Now,
Do you ever like look at if they have their compressors on like overnight or something when they're not there, and ever do any kind of leak
that's
detection?
exactly, all of this tells you that, because this is a 24-hour shot. So you can ask them, like, what are you doing at 1 o'clock in the morning? Because 1 o'clock in the morning, you have a 15 CFM demand here. Right?
Yeah, so that's
20 CFM demand. Like, is that a leak load, or do you have something like what's going on here? Because out of the 7 days, you're using air for all of it. So if you don't need air in between here and here, then we need to shut the compressors off. If you buy one of our newer compressors that has the built-in, clock timer, we can actually tell it to shut off at this time and save you an additional X amount of savings. So there's like a bazillion different ways you can take this. It just depends on what they want. So you get all of this, right? You evaluate it, you have your conversation with the distributor, and the distributor's like, yep, they want to go with the 15 horsepower variable speed. You click this check mark, you check the box over here, and you come up and you create a report. And then it'll generate this report for you. Now,
does it put any dollar figures like with their power cost or anything? Does it say you will save this much money per year if you switch to this? Does it give them a dollar amount?
wait for it. Our reports are garbage. The generated reports, in my opinion, are absolute garbage. Okay, so when you generate a sales report, like this is the sales report that it generated out of that. When I click that check mark, right, and say generate report, this is what it gives you. So I didn't have all the customer information, so it's not here. It puts my stuff in there because, well, I'm the one doing it. I'm on my account. Next thing that it says, it's going to save them on an average $976 a year, 14% energy.
Yeah,
Now,
great.
it's okay. I mean, when you look at the price difference and the ROI on the variable speed, you're talking 5 to 8 year payback. That's why small variable speeds are extremely difficult to sell based off of just sheer energy savings. But it does give you a number.
Yeah. Is anyone in California or in your area they look at that CO2 emissions or anything? I know it's pretty useless over here, but I think maybe Europe and some other countries use it, and maybe California. I don't know. Does anyone look at those CO2 emissions?
Not so much anymore. It's becoming a thing slightly, but not at the same time, not really. So within the summary here and everything, like this payback period, you can actually go in and plug in the actual cost of the equipment, and it'll tell you here what that payback period is going to be in months. I did one, for example, where it was a CPVS 150, 100s, and a 75, and it was like a 14-month payback at list price. It just depends on how much information you want to put in there. I choose not to do that most of the time because I don't know what the distributors are selling at. So I just let them plug that information.
Yeah.
Some of the things I don't like about the program, for example, yearly is based on 12 cents per KW. When the slide before, I literally put in here that we changed it and it's based on 0.065.
Yeah.
I mean, we changed it, but the template doesn't change it in all the places. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It gives you a simulated flow of all 7-day overlay. Each day has a different color: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this is what the flow data looks like. This is what we started with. They're 2 hydro vanes. This is what how they are running and what it costs them, right? This is the pressure band, it's the 32-pound pressure gap, which is ridiculous. This is the current situation in energy, what it's actually costing them. Their max flow, their average flow. 85% of the time they're in the middle, right? Or from 50 to 75, 14% of the time here. We're proposing a CPVSD 15 added to the system. And we went to 300 gallons worth of storage. I actually increased the storage on this one. I left it with a 52-pound gap because I got the variable speed running right here. That's the pressure band of the variable speed. I have these ones way low to ensure that they're not running in the simulation. And if they are, then we have a serious problem. At the end of the day, the control gap really is only like 7 pounds, 10 pounds tops. Which this is what, now if we put them side by side, their original 2 compressors are stopped the entire time. They never run. Compressor 3, which is the variable speed, takes the entire load, which that's where we get that 14% savings, and we save them $976 a year. And then that's all the report is. We go from there to a simulation and a graph. The other thing that you can get from it is a detailed graph, which is, it's all 7 days and then each day broken down individually. And we do a simulation of the variable speed. So this is the variable speed running the same simulation. That data and how it runs, and it maintains perfect pressure. It never drops below. It maintains pressure on all of those same days, identical, because it can handle it. And then what I do, and because I was having luck with AirChitects, but then at the same time, I wasn't having as much success as I wanted. So what I did is I came up with a new template for the reporting that is more sales based. So I came up with this report, which this is the one that I actually did for this distributor for this simulation. And it was, oh, that's completely accurate. It's got a nice introduction and then the purpose of the investigation. It's got a couple more data, some charts in here. Oh, this is the general template. Excuse me, that's why it's all mixed up. but it's got a little bit more of an idea of exactly what is going on. It's a little bit more intuitive. It's a little bit more detail oriented.
Yeah, it's good. So on this one, you just manually go in and put each graph in, or is this actually run as a template for you and generate?
No, this is the template that's generic, and then when you actually do one, like I did, I just copy and paste some of the pictures and graphs out of AirChitect and out of those reports into this template. So,
Yeah.
for example, I did one for Mosaic for Sierra Machinery. So I took my template and then I put it into there, and then I made it into this. So I just made it, a little bit more personal, of course. And then I added different graphs. Like I took the existing air system here. That's straight from AirChitect, right? And then I plugged in their individual information. And then I gave an existing overview. So compressors 1 and 2. This is what I see, right? Piping, controls, receivers. And here's the system report. This is the generated flow. This was, again, out of AirChitect. And I adjusted all of these paragraphs to match the individual distributor. This is another, snapshot from there. And I added all of this from what I could see and typed it in. I snapped this, the system efficiency. This is, again, right out of AirChitect report. I just changed the layout and added more information because you're limited to what you can do and add within AirChitect. It gives you that generic, which is just, like I said, kind of garbage. And then I took a 7-day screenshot from it, put it in here, added a little bit more of an explanation of what I see. So, all said and done, after I got done and I decided to develop this newer template, newer report, it's an 18-page report. So now they got something with value and something with some meat behind it to actually have that discussion with the end user about what we can do. Because more often than not, we're not there. So
do you physically give them the report, or you just cover it with them?
I try to physically be there because our distributors are stupid and they don't know what the hell they're doing the majority of the time.
I'm saying for this report, if you do the audit for free, give them the report for free, they could obviously easily just take it to someone else and say, here, this is what I want, and not get it from you, which is why I used to always try to just physically just open my laptop and walk through the report with them, but I would try to avoid printing off and giving them the actual report. But
yeah. I gave them the physical report most of the time. That's exactly what I do, is give them the physical report. At the end of the day, the distributors can give it to them if they're doing it themselves, but it just depends on the situation. I was not able to get a face-to-face with this, and they wanted a report, so they got one. I was trying to sell, 3 200 horsepowers. We lost this job because of our lead time. So I gave them the report in this situation. Most of the time, I'll just send them over a couple snapshots of the flow and say, have a conversation with the guy and go from there. If he wants an actual report, we can do something different. But
yeah,
like this 18-page report takes some serious time. So I'll do this on the bigger ones. Like I'm doing one for Klein Tools right now in Texas, where they're getting 150 and 150 variable speed. That one's a little bit more intuitive, but more detailed, but
yeah,
it's just kind of case by case. But I did notice that once I came out with the more detailed reports, I was getting better feedback and also success in selling compressors. So that's the primary reason I did it.
Yeah, it's good.
And then
I was going to say another strategy, that I know some people do, which may or may not work, is to initially charge for the audit or the report, but then tell them that you'll credit them everything back if they buy a compressor.
Yep,
So basically,
which
they end up.
I'm not opposed to at all, but man, at the end of the day, I got to sell compressors. So, and there's no cost to me other than my personal time doing this. But, and anything to try and show the value with the distributors, the ones that get it, start to do it, they love it, and I move units. So if they want to charge for it, I tell them they can do that. It just depends on their strategy. And then at all the way at the end, I do conclusions, and then I do solutions, and go from there. Because I'm not quoting equipment. I mean, if it was me direct, I'd have a quotation and everything to go along with this, but that's not me. So I'm trying to support and sell the distributor. So if it's nothing too bad, I'll just use the automated generated report to the distributor. But if it's a bigger project that's more serious and it definitely looks viable, I'll do the work and use that template that I made and put more information into it, or malleable, present better. So
Yeah, looks great.
at the end of the day, that's really all it is with AirChitect. Getting the information, getting the loggers to the distributors, getting the loggers back from the distributors, uploading it, and generating reports is not difficult. It's actually relatively easy. On the M drive, there's definitely the videos that you can go through and watch and step by step. It's kind of some of them are a little dated. Crystal Yang's got some great stuff as well. It's one of those things that it's gonna take you a couple hours the first time you go to do it because we've just never done it, you know. I think it's a cataloger for iTrack. Yeah, iTrack cataloging, AirChitect.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was there.
Yeah, but training videos. Here's all the training videos. There's 30 different videos here that go through it step by step. So install, configuration, downloading the data from iTrack, analyzing the data, no load. And then there's also one down here that's from dusk to dawn. Let's see. Yeah. Dusk to dawn is from start to finish. That's the one that, when you don't want to go through each individual one, you just kind of want to watch it.
You said what is it? Where?
Sales and marketing, iTrack, data logging, training videos.
Yeah, what's the one that you said was just everything?
Dusk to dawn, but I'm not seeing it on here for some reason.
Oh.
Compressor. Oh, start to finish right here. It's been changed. Inbox, 11 minutes, start to finish.
Okay.
Number 23. And there's way more than I'm even remotely. You can put custom logos and stuff into this, and all kinds of crazy stuff to really make it look cool. But
is Crystal Yang doing all those videos?
Crystal Yang, they're on the AirChitect shared drive or forum.
Was she the one narrating all those videos?
No, those videos were done by Bob Barker way before he finally retired.
Okay.
So they're easy to understand. Our point of use or preference is definitely Crystal Yang, who there's a language barrier there, but she's really good at getting resources from and pointing you in the right direction. But yeah. So if you need some training tools or anything, I definitely prefer, because some of the stuff that we have is outdated. But yeah, steel map, yeah, steel beam. Oh, but that's, I mean, that's kind of a down and dirty, quick little thing. You're going to struggle with it, just like I did. I mean, I sat down and went through the huge PowerPoint training and everything the first time. And then 2-3 weeks later, finally got my first data log and couldn't remember anything. And just had to go through and watch that video step by step, and slowly start to figure it out. Because it's one of those tools that until you start to do it, you don't, it just takes a, you know. And then every time they do an update or something, it's kind of tricky at times as well. Because, for example, the loggers that you're going to get, I guarantee you're going to have to go through and do an update on them because they've been sitting there for so long.
Yeah, they're brand new, but they're probably 4 or 5 years old at least.
Yeah, which is fine, but I mean, they had a system update on them. Let me see here.
To update them, I just plug them in.
Yeah, you plug them in, and then you got to download the logger upgrade. You got to download all of these, and then just get them up to version software 2.0, whatever, 2.011.
So every time they come out with a new upgrade, then they send it out or something, and then you got to upgrade all your loggers.
Sure, we wish, but no. When you start having problems, the crap doesn't work.
That's what you know, yeah.
Your rep, they're like, oh, well, have you done the upgrade? And you're like, no. Oh, well, just go to the AirChitect whatever web page, which let me see if I can find it real quick because I think I actually have it. The blog, and it's right there. You're like, oh, the AirChitect forum on the ship drive. Oh, that's still not the right one.
So do you think Joe's actually doing a lot of audits too? Does he use his?
Yeah, Joe does it. Him and I, he was doing, especially, it's like anything else. I mean, in the very beginning, we were doing quite a bit. And then depending on how busy you get, whatnot, they come and go in waves. But this AirChitect forum was where you're going to find most of your training video channel is on here. Why that's loading, tips and tricks, Q&A, training material. This is all off the hub too. So here's more training videos that are definitely more up to date than what we have. That's for sure. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Justin. Well, I recorded this and then I just need to start. I'll get someone local to do, to run it. So in case I do it wrong or whatever reason, I can go back and try again. So.
Yeah, and then like the very, very first one I did, I went to one of my distributors and said, "Hey, can I just put this on your shop compressor?" And they're like, and they looked at me kind of funny. They're like, "What?" I'm like, I just need something. I got a new program. I'm trying to learn, and I just need some data. And they're, "Oh, yeah, go ahead. We don't care." So, and that's how I got started, because we didn't have anybody at the time. It was, I mean, Will just got handed it to it, and he's like, "I have no idea, man. Like, I know Inbox, and Inbox was a nightmare compared to this, and that's how I ended up figuring it out." So it's kind of a pain in the butt, but I haven't even, like, these videos here I've never even seen, but they look
Yeah, it
good.
doesn't look too bad. I'd definitely be happy to help any way I can once I start to learn a little bit more of it too. But like you said, it really comes down to just physically doing the audits. You can go through all the videos, all the trainings. You just got to do them.
You got to do them. You got to figure out how to read it and extrapolate it, right, and decipher it, which takes a little bit, but it's not that hard. It's just things to look for, I mean, once you get to looking at, I closed it. I wish I was not. Are you studying? You know, like when you're looking at the weak flow, you know, when you look down here, you're like, okay, well, you're still using like 19 CFM all the time. So what are you doing here? Are you running 24/7, 365? Well, no. You don't shut your compressors off at night, do you? Well, no. Oh, well, you have a 20 CFM leak load, man. How old's your pipe? How about we look at some? You know, that's how you can start to take that conversation. But little things like that you'll start to pick up after you do it because you start seeing these graphs.
Yeah.
But yeah, get some data, start
Which is.
doing it, and then you guys will be good to go. Of course, follow me along the way, help you out. You and me, I'm always willing to help. It's just going to take you. It's just going to take some time. It's just really what it's going to be down to.
That's all right.
Yeah, Kate, if you can set something up with Universal locally or something, that'd be great.
Yeah, they'll be all in. They'll do it, anything we want. So absolutely.
Yeah, and then even on the M drive, and even from Crystal, or even if you go to the hub and then you find the AirChitect forum, there's an updated PowerPoint on there for training. I would highly even recommend downloading that one and using that to go through because it's going to show you, know, but it's just like I said, it's just going to take you a while to get used to it.
All right, you got it. I'll find that too. All right, thank you, Justin. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thanks, Darren, for the equipment. Put it on my list, and I'll learn something for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, hey, Darren, Shelly's got to get with you on a order that's all jacked up with options from the factory.
A CPBG 50.
Yeah, the 50 and 29. It's the same option part number, but it looks like the option part number for the graphic controller has changed.
Yeah, I just talked to her about a CPBG 50 because
All right, I'm
the
leaving
part
you
number
guys.
that we actually.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, I was saying the part number that's in our book for the CPBG 50 is one that the factory created for us that includes filters, but doesn't include the upgraded controller. And they're saying that since it's like a custom number that includes the filters, that we can't add anything else to it. So I was just talking to her about that. Basically, you got to go back and use the standard part number, and then you can add the controller to it.
Yeah, which is going to be interesting because you know, that order was placed. Oh, let's see. Long ass time ago. And it's not even remotely being built. Hold on.
Does it have to be a CPBG or something?
Oh, I tried to swap it over to the CPC 50G that Bob had sitting up there in Canada, but unfortunately the ball got dropped, and that swap never happened. And Bob sold that compressor today, so now it's no longer available.
Well, I mean, we have CPCMs and CPCGs coming a lot sooner than this one probably would.
No, well, I'll take whatever we can get, but they should have had that compressor by now already. So I got to go through and see what the hell our next options are and see what the hell he wants to do. See which ones haven't been accounted for. And, you know, as you very well know, not knowing what's been sold the last week doesn't make it very easy. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I got to try and find something. I don't have anything.
Yeah. Yeah, over the next month, we should be getting a lot more of the 40s and 50s and 60s in, some of them in that range, but probably at least another month or so, but should start rolling in soon here.
So, are you in the office?
I am, yeah.
You on speaker or you have a headset?
I have headphones on.
Oh, okay. Really loud. It sounds like it's on speaker. That's why I asked.
Yeah, no, it's just headphones. I've never really used these ones here. I'm trying to talk with them, but it's just headphones, not like a headset.
Oh, gotcha. So, all right, man. Well, anything else, let me know. But hopefully that kind of helps. But
oh yeah, definitely. And I'll talk with Shelly, see if there's anything else she needs.
Awesome.
All right.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Hey, Ed, how the heck are you?